Okay, I'm going to start with my garlic and onion because I'm going to use this same board to cut my chicken. And so I don't want to cut this after I put raw chicken on it. So I started with about 13 pieces of garlic, pretty much a whole head. And I'm going to save these for my green beans, and these I'm going to mince up for the chicken. And technically you should use a shallot, but I don't usually buy a shallot. To me, that's kind of like a splurge ingredient. So you can use pretty much any onion. Purple, yes, I know they're red, but I call them purple because they are purple. But you can use red onion, white onion, yellow onion, Vidalia. I wouldn't use green onions because that's kind of a totally different taste. But just, you know, mince it up kind of fine. If you have a shallot, then use one large shallot. In the pan, we have 2 tablespoons of olive oil and 3 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to start heating that up in just a moment, but I'm not quite ready for it yet. So I'm going to pause you here while I chop up the rest of this onion. Alright, so I have trimmed up my onion, cried my eyeballs out. Now I'm going to trim the chicken. So what we do here is we want it in thin pieces, and you can buy thin pieces already at Walmart. You can only get it in the generic brand. So I like to cut my own and buy a little bit better chicken, because even the better chicken is not so great. So at times. So, but you want it cut thin. And the only thing we're going to add to it is salt and pepper. And we're going to lightly dust it in just flour. No liquid first, because we just want a very dusting on it. So what I like to do, if you can see, I got everything in the way. I'll move this. What I do generally is I'll cut it in half this way. The skinnier side, I will only slice through once. It's a little bit hard to hold on to. I should have put on a glove. It makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so that gives me 2 cutlets there. And this, I will make at least 3, depending on how fat it is. But it looks like it will be 3 today. Alright, so kind of thin. We're not going to pound it out. We're just going to leave it thin so that it cooks quickly, but not pound it out. Okay, so I'm going to do the other one off camera and then wash my hands and come back. Couscous is easy. I don't know if you all eat it or not. This is the one I'm using today. My water is boiling, which was 1 1/4 cups. I should have added the season packet to it already. I did not, but that's okay. It's nothing but, I believe, granulated. I think it's just granulated chicken and probably garlic powder and Parmesan. So we're going to put that in there real quick. My butter is sizzling over here for, go ahead and add that. Turn that one off. Give her a lid. Quick stir. I don't want my butter to burn over here, but alright, so that's off. That's good. That's just going to sit there and soak in the liquid. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and turn this down a little bit. I started it off high. I've already got my garlics in the pan here for my green beans, and I'll let them fry up just a little bit. Just going to sear this on each side. With this, I probably will. I know I always say this. I probably will have to do this in 2 batches. But you know I'm going to try to cram it in there, right? And I do believe I can cram this in there, so I think I'm just going to stop telling y'all to do it in 2 batches and just do it. Alright, Butamus Maximus. 1 batch is fine. Meanwhile, I have washed and trimmed my green beans. And I'm glad I'm cooking them today because even though the date on it was March 24th and today is only, I don't even know what, the 20th or so. They didn't look all that great, but that's market side for you. We like our veggies to get charred and toasty, so I'm not turning that down or anything just yet. I'm going to let that stay. I'm going to be adding some lemon juice to those as well, so that will complement good with our chicken. So I'm trying to decide if I want to add any salt or pepper. I guess I will add a bit. A lot of times I do a balsamic on them, but I think I'm going to go with the lemon juice today. Just lemon and garlic. We'll turn them down a little bit. Alright, our chicken's going well. You're only supposed to do it about 2 minutes on each side. I might put a lid on that just to reduce the noise. See if I can find it. There. That'll help with that sound. Alright, let's get over here and look at our chicken and see if we can flip it. Probably could have stood to be a little bit thinner, but that definitely would have been 2 panfuls, right? We don't want to do that. Turn it back up a hair. Make sure I don't go too low on that because I want it to brown a little bit. That butter gives it a nice flavor too, that brown butter. Alright. Over these tongs. So our sauce will be chicken broth, capers, lemon. Okay. So I'm going to pause it there while everything cooks a little bit. Alright, I'm going to turn this again actually because I do believe one side, well, the butter is darkening, so I'm just going to flip it one more time. So because of that, I'm going to use these same tongs again since I'm going to continue cooking it for now. And then I'll get clean ones to take it out. We're going to check on our beans also. Don't let that lid drip on you. I think I am going to add a little bit of balsamic. I'm not sure about the lemon. I just like balsamic beans. Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll just try both. A little of each instead of a lot of one. How about that? So we're going to go with some balsamic. You want to put it in early enough so that it can cook down and get kind of thick and sweet and syrupy and not stay a raw vinegar flavor. Because if you don't know, when you cook balsamic vinegar down, it turns into a nice, sweet, thick syrup, which is good on like ice cream and desserts. You wouldn't think so, but it is. You got to be able to stand the smell of cooking it down. Because it can be a bit strong. Alright. Let's see if I know if that chicken is done. I know some of them are, but I don't know about all of them. Especially, I think what I'm going to do, instead of taking it out to drain on a pan like it says, I'm just going to push it to the side while I put my onions and garlic in. I don't see the need of actually taking it out. And then it says a tablespoon of a teaspoon of lemon zest, which of course I don't have that, and a tablespoon of fresh lemon juice. So I think I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of this lemon juice. And the capers I'm just going to put separately on my plate because my family does not want them. And this is a fairly quick and easy weeknight dinner as well. You actually have to simmer it until the chicken broth is reduced by half, which can take about 5 minutes or 5 or 6 minutes. That's probably the longest process, is waiting on that. And after it reduces, then we will stir in the rest of our butter and capers, lemon juice, and a little bit more salt. This is not a thick sauce. This is why you'll be adding the butter to it, but it's still not going to be a really thick sauce. Almost more brothy. It's good though, very flavorful. We like it, but that's why I'm putting it over couscous. You want to put it over something that's going to soak in some liquid. So we're going to add that. And I'm just going to go ahead and move my chicken around. That way, if it wasn't quite fully done, it can cook in this instead of... Typically, you would leave the chicken out and serve the sauce over it once it was done. But I want to make sure my chicken is fully cooked, so I'm actually going to let it reduce in the sauce. If you don't want your meat overcooked, then by all means leave it out on the plate. Alright, so that's it. We just wait for it to simmer. It is 4:38, just turned 4:38, so I'll come back and let you know how long it takes to reduce that by half. Meanwhile, we can look at our beans. They're charring up. See how they're getting very... Look at that balsamic. See how it turned into like a nice thickness. You can add a little water or a little of that broth over there if you wanted, but kind of going to leave it alone for a few more minutes. Let them char up a little bit more and make sure that vinegar is cooked off of there. While I have you here, we're also going to, we have that on a little bit too high of a, we don't want it to boil, so we're going to turn that down to low. Alright, back in a moment. If you think your beans need a little steam because they're not quite cooked yet, but they're getting too dark, all you have to do is just add a little water. And you can, that will also deglaze the bottom of the pan to get the rest of that vinegar off of there. Make sure they're, I don't like my beans to be too waxy, rawish tasting, but I don't want them mushy either, so they probably won't need any more water than that. I think they're done enough. I'm going to turn those off and add just a tablespoon of lemon juice. You are supposed to add more salt to your chicken over here, but I'm not going to do that because I'll be putting capers on my plate and I just don't want the extra sodium, so I'm not going to do that. But it's still trying to reduce over here. It's only been, let's see, it's 4:42 now, so what do we say, 4:38 or 39, I can't remember which. It's been right at 5 minutes, so turn it back up a little bit. Well, they want you to use 10 tablespoons total. And I already put 3 in, so we're supposed to put 7 more in, but I think that's a lot. I'm not going to do quite that many, so I'm doing, I'm putting another 5 in. Which is still a lot, but that is your sauce. Putting it in now so that I make sure it melts, and it might also help thicken it up a little bit, because it should be fairly close. So if you all have never had capers or you don't know exactly what they are, they have a pickled taste. Might be in the pea family, but I'm not quite sure. I'll look it up in just a minute. They look like little peas, but they sure don't taste like peas. Alright, so I did end up adding about a half a teaspoon of cornstarch, dissolved in just probably an 1/8 cup of water, very, very small amount, just because I wanted mine a little bit thicker than what it was. So I'm bringing that up to a simmer so that it can thicken just a little bit more, and I'm going to go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. It is 4:50 now, so because I did that extra step, it did take a little bit longer. If you want it to stay frothy, that's fine. This is great over noodles, like linguine, grits. If you wanted it thicker, but you can totally add more cornstarch or use less liquid. Don't use the whole can of chicken broth. I wouldn't have had a use for it to leave a little bit left out, so that's why I just used the whole thing. Maybe a half a can would be good, then you just have a little bit of sauce. Probably depends on what you're serving it over as to how much sauce you want. So, alright, I'm about to plate her up. And I'll show you the finished plate in just a minute. Enjoy! Daddy, eat eats.
On my way.